So there's 3 more days, or 2 days left in the market. There's today and tomorrow, and so it's kind of like Wednesday is a kind of a day where you might get filled on some of these new low, new high entries to get in on where stops and resistance. Like, it's the old, is it a fake out or breakout? So are there times when you're going to get killed if you sell at the edge of the market slightly? You're going to get killed. So the cure for that is to put some scalps in here and pay for the stop outs. Now, these aren't going to be the killer trades that people usually look for, these amazing amount of pips. This is really a scalp. I'm going to make this last all week, though, because if I put this thing in on Monday, or even if I put it in monthly, it'll last all month, but it just means that I've marked that level on the screen. So when I first started in Forex, I was on the platform, it was like a real squirrely Java platform, FXCM, which I just wanted to crush that thing with a hammer because it would rearrange all the charts and it was so unstable. But the cool thing about it was, well, there was two cool things about it, is that an alarm would go off when your account was about to blow up. So if you had a margin call, it would actually call out and make this kind of terrifying. If you've ever lost even $5, you're like, what? So like a kid in a candy store, I just kind of started to just pull every lever in the Wonka factory. And what I noticed right off the bat was, instead of drawing a horizontal price line, why not just put an order in there? Because FXCM is going to they're going to give me notification of my fill with this beeping sound. Beep, beep. It went like beep, beep. And that meant I got filled. I couldn't run scripts on that thing, but I could lay these pendings. And the first time I made money in the New Zealand dollar without losing it was the first aha moment I had in the Forex arena, because the spread was so wide on New Zealand, and I just fundamentally, when I saw New Zealand trading at 50 cents years ago, I thought, well, okay, this is the thing to buy. Like, this is a stock. It's going to go to $1. Let's make some. So I was telling everybody I knew about it. I was all excited. Hey, have you heard of this thing, Forex? And people are just like, dude, you got another beer. So it was really kind of falling on deaf ears there. But they kept stopping me out of this New Zealand trade, and I wanted, I was looking to trade from the long side, and I'm like, you motherfuckers. And I would not see, the thing is that it was kind of the cutting edge of the first, before it was like, I think MetaTrader existed before this FXCM brokers platform, but it was a real experimental thing. So you wouldn't see the bid fill. You'd be like, well, they never, how they stopped me out of that. Of course, the spread would get ridiculously wide. I mean, it would get so wide that it wouldn't even plot on the screen, I think. And so I put a buy limit down at the edge of the market. And I thought, you motherfuckers, you do that one more time to me. This is only my first limit order placement. Because up until that time, being young and dumb, I really was like pretty much a plunger. Like, if on the stock market, if I like something, I just fucking buy it. Just buy that at the market. Thank you very much. I know what I'm doing. Shut up. I know what I'm doing. So then this limit thing, the reason why I never traded with limits, because I was like, well, what if they don't fill my limit? I don't want to miss out. So I was afraid to miss out, and I knew I was right, and I usually was right in the long run. And so this was the first experience of, I put this order in New Zealand, and I heard FXCM platform go blip, blip, and I thought, yeah, you fuckers. Like, I felt like I was catching flies in a fly trap. Like, yeah, come bother me again. And that was the aha moment right there. And then the other big aha moment was in MetaTrader when I placed a 3K on the euro yen about 250 pips deep, and they filled it and retraced 380 pips on me. And I was like, in 4 hours, I'd made all this money because I said, "Oh, really? We saw this good volatility, huh?" So the concept of throwing orders super deep, because it's just nothing more than a volatility play without regard to any, channels or anything else other than the ATRs are really high. So now, instead of trading, when the ATRs are small, you're going to trade breakouts. But when the ATRs are psychotic, you're just throwing stuff out there that people are like, "What? Are you seriously?" And maybe you're 1,000 pips deep. News comes out. Imagine you placed orders every 1,000 pips apart. Dollar Swiss crashes. How'd you do on that account? So I can't say you're going to get filled if you place a buy limit today on any one of these pairs 1,000 pips deep. But just because this is a weekly order, I'm going to drop here, and you can always just every day, if you want to reset, you could close all open and pendings. And I think this is why in the end you're going to need like 10 brokers. So you need a broker to pay for your hookers, a broker to pay for your massages, a broker to pay for your car payments on your Ferrari, or just the account you build up for that. So you have 10 brokers, and you have your kind of like, I'm just going to clown around on this account. It's got $100 in it. I'm just going to trade this account really seriously. It's got like 50 grand in it, so I'm just going to place orders in there that I know they make money. It's been proven that the markets go sideways. It's been proven that the markets go up and down. This one I'm building here is going to be a weekly order, so this is really just, I'm going to risk 20 pips to make 40 pips, and inside of MetaTrader it's called they call it a W1, as if there's a W2, but they call it W1 for a week, 1 week. Just like D1 is daily, has to be D1. So if you go up to the edit window here and you type in the W, you're going to see it come up and show you what it's supposed to be. So I put a D1 in there. Now I'm going to compile this. So I'm just going to clone the last script that was written at 8 hours, and I keep saving as. So just build your library of tickets like this. Save as. Now I can make this a daily, or I can make this, I'm going to risk 15 pips to make 30 pips, and this will be a scalp that's sitting there at the last battle zone. So I save it, and then I'm going to name it to, I can save the weekly time frame. So if you write everything in one time frame, so this is going to risk 15 to make 30 pips. Now if you place 100 of these, you'd be trading 100K across whatever. And so that's set. Now if I go to my navigator, I should see this pop up in the common area. And I put everything in the buy category under, I create a directory called B for buy. This is my kind of trying to get organized platform. Other ones are kind of scatterbrain experiments, but this is now the weekly is going to jump out. I guess they don't stack together, so it's really about pip risk. But if you put if you call this out with the timestamp first, then it's going to columnize this all by time frame. So I don't know if your view of the market is just order placement to get the scalp in here. Now this is the weekly scalp, so if on Friday we should come kabanging down into this, I want to buy that for the scalp. Now this looks like too greedy of an exit, so I would build a tighter one. And depending on what pair you're on, if you can imagine hand placing a cluster of 6 of these in some way, you just know this is going to be a good trade all day long. So if you're dropping these things every 15 minutes, you're like, oh, I got to redrop those. That's why I put all those on a these are single drops, but the ones that are on that those giant order banks, those, you know, half hour, who's going to place 40 orders in a half an hour? Your fingers would come off. So that's the algo, or that's the I don't want to say high frequency, I'd say fast order placement, high frequency order placement. And this here is the scalps that last all week long. These are your go-to bread and butter trades, because you're not always going to get these monster moves. So this would be like wick scalps. So I'll save this as I'm going to risk 10 to make 20. Of course, it's going to be currency dependent. Wherever I save this, I mean, wherever I place this. So this is double your money. And I got no problem hand placing these. Now we adjust this to fit what we called it. But this is probably the only way to really, for no matter what level of trading you're at, because you could just, if you don't want to keep placing, you just make it bigger than 1K. But so I don't blow this account up, I told myself I would simmer down and trade it. So the lower risks are going to be up here. Here's a 1 week scalp. Here's an 8 hour scalp. These are all the same ratios. The time is the only thing changing. So very top. And this currency pair, this is a pretty tame pair. I mean, this is 100 pips on this Australia. I don't see any. Here was your killer entry, but that was for the scalp. Now you could put a cluster of this one order in. If you know this is always going to be a good price down here, right at the round number, you would just place your weekly scalps here. You see if I can get this. I'm just gonna, so this is your risk 10 to make. So who wouldn't be buying down here at the wick? And you can just place it right on the wick, which is kind of nice. And you can see this is a high probability scalp. So I'd say at the beginning of the week on, I think if you drop this order on Wednesday, it will last until Wednesday of next week. So if you drop this order now, this will sit through the weekend. Definitely if you pick a monthly time frame, which would be M1, it's going to last forever. So the guy was asking me about these channels. Now, can you, like I said, the FXCM broker would give you, so instead of placing support, if you think this is support, then you would just put a scalp order down there for the easy money. And so if you test this out, okay, I'm going to put a 1 hour. I will buy, if the market can drop here in 1 hour, I will buy the new low for a run back to here. Because if we're really in an uptrend, you think we're in an uptrend, of course we broke out here, we're breaking down right now, but maybe the new channels like this, maybe we should draw it off the top of the channel as a reference to the bottom. It's certainly giving it more room for the scenario. I just watched Jana FX. So I'm going to do the channel thing there. So we do it right to that. Now, the channel within the channel. So the guys that are kind of taking advantage of this big fast sell-off, they're digging this move. And it's a very tight run down. Scalpers are looking to buy the break of that. But it's so here's the weekly scalps. These are always going to be, I think, good places to get in and get out for the scalp. If they stop you out of this, maybe you go flat for 40 pips. There's no orders. So if you just place these nothing but on the round numbers, how, like next week, how's that not going to be a good trade? You could place them right on these tops too. So using your order as your analysis, you're going to just put it right there because it's where your support is. And those are just scalps. The 4-hour view, it's like, really? Well, it's obviously a buy. If it comes below this, you can just put an order right down here. And the nice thing is you can place it here even though. So when you normally use a trend line, you place an order right there, and you don't want to get too much duplication. But leave a space between orders. And here, you're going to buy this top, right? You place an order there for the scalp. So, you know, the scenario here is that the market comes bouncing, it bounces, and it cashes out. And the thing is that once it either blows these out or cashes out of these, you'd have to replace them if it triggered any of these. Or you could be placing buy stops right now just because you have a low volatility last known bar here. And maybe this scalp, you only want this last for an hour because you're betting on this. And then you could put one here at the bottom of this wick for the next 2 hours, slightly different price. You can also see how realistic your take profits are for that entry. Because from the daily standpoint, and I know that one guy was saying trade without stops, but it's a little painful if you don't ever place one and you're in too big. But here was the place that you could have had the weekly buys sitting here. Started buying this new low, and maybe you waited for this double buy, or maybe waited for this really small here, this last, to get in. But this thing's just ranging. It's stupid. No real, here's your break trend line, breakout, maybe pull back here and get in. But if that's true, then you're just going to place your weekly or daily orders here. I'd say put your weekly orders on this daily chart. So here's your scalp, and then here's a risk 20 to make 40, and stack it up on, say, this top, and put one here for the bigger profit. And for the moment, go to the half hour. So here I would, and this is this is going to last a long time, but imagine this is your 15-minute order. So you have a hotkey of 15-minute orders in here that buy every 5 pips. And the news comes out, and we come raping down in this, and then we go up, boom. That's that trade. And it's or we put a buy stop in. I don't know if the buy stops are programmed down here, but imagine you have a buy stop and you just got filled on that last half hour because your robot has a buy stop and he's mechanically trading for you, and you're like, oh, I think they trapped these pairs down here, and if we go like this and like this, we're gonna go, and we're just gonna go up. Challenge this trend line, and here's the scalpers trend line. It's a half-hour chart. If you connect these two tops, and okay, well, you broke out and you're finding support, and you got to keep going up now. you're about to break this one, and then there's one way the hell out here if you stick with closing prices. The 1 hour, it looks like, wow, the 1 hour makes this more shallow. But there's the support. So this is the outlandish order. This is a half hour thing. So this is when I really made very aggressive. And that's 1 hour on the white things. But you always know that this could be a place to revisit right at the round number. And I would just have no problem building a bunch of weekly scalps and just place them down here and walk away. So to start out the week, I would place all these in. You can always come back and prune the thing and figure that you planted too many seeds. 50 to make 100. This could be a weekly order too. So whatever you want to trade as far as how long you want these things to sit out there. Because if we know that where support is, why would we want to try to babysit some currency pair that's just, you're not scalping it, you don't care. It's like, hey, if they take it down there, I'll make 100 pips. You know, wait 5 days to get paid though, or 5 hours. Now some of these things you're going to wait 5 minutes on a guppy, but so you just keep on just building this. And I put it on my favorites. So they allow you favorites here in MetaTrader, and you can put the list of favorites, and maybe it's all weeklies. And you have a laptop. You can get a laptop for like $100. Open a broker, put those on there. So you're running all this stuff. You're basically have a harem of, you know, like you have to have a crew of strategies out there. It's a harem. So this is set to risk 50 to make 100 pips, and it's all week long. Now this isn't going to fit very well on currencies that don't move 100 pips in a week, or 100 pips in an hour, 100 pips in a month maybe. It's how long do you want to wait to get paid, I think, for a lot of this stuff. So if I go to the guppy, I think I could probably place an order on that. If I have it on this list. Here's a crazy currency. This one you could do it. So you could take this and put this on your favorites list. So without duplicating any of my orders, this would be the swing trades. And right here at the new low. Right here, new lows. All week long. New Zealand dollar. Put all these scalps in here. So add all these weeklies to the, maybe all your weeklies are on the favorites list. That's another way to look at it. This way when you go to here, you know, oh, everything's weekly. So you do all your weekly plans here, and then you can have this one for your psycho, for you're just like, okay, everything here is short-term trading. And you could just make a directory called short-term trading, a folder. And here's your scalp. You place it right on this wick all week long. All week long you're going to buy new lows into here. I think it's, if you, and you place it back here, because you want to buy that, bounce into this, you're only risking, it's a 100 pip grid, so you want to buy in the middle here, the middle of the road. So maybe you're just buying this whole pocket here, so you can also define the zone here, and instead of placing more analysis on there, you're actually placing real orders. And this is the thing, is using the order as your analysis. Horizontal, all the orders you know are horizontal, so that takes care of your horizontal part of the miter box. And the channels, okay, but instead of drawing horizontal lines and saying, oh, if it gets there, just place the order there. And maybe within a 10 pip zone, you place 8 orders, some are scalps, some are swings, and that's the art of it, I think, because when you're doing artwork, if you want to make something look interesting, you have to put micro detail into some areas, and some areas are broad brushed, you know. And that's the clever part of trading, is to, you know, make execution and order placement your focal point, and not and so you're kind of forced into doing that when you say, well, I'm gonna buy support, one order right there. And it doesn't matter what size it is, because if you've only got $100, if you're risking $2 to make $4, it's a high prob. Who wouldn't take that trade? Like, who wouldn't just, if you told somebody, listen, $2, I'll give you 4 next week, it's 100% on your money, or 50%. This whole zone down here, now I'm going to fix the scale. See, when you drill down, you'd be like, yeah, who's not buying down here? And this is the 100 pip block vacuum waiting to get filled. If dollar CAD goes up, New Zealand's going to crash into this thing. And would you buy right here where there's probably some money management thing? And all my targets are on the last known floor, so I picked my exit kind of before my entrance. And if this is your, okay, the sellers are riding this trend line on the 4 hour, I mean on the daily, New Zealand, and like sellers coming in there, perfect top bottom. So you could have sold here with sell limits on this double bottom, and if your stop was too tight, you got stopped out. And maybe you're not even up on the trade. So maybe you should have sold this top. This is why you just couldn't live off of one order. You can't have inventory of one item in your place. So if you put a sell limit here, say this was a pending, you didn't get, you maybe just got filled and you didn't get stopped out and you made money. What if you had a sell limit right here? Perfect. That's a 15 pip stop. So if you're using orders for your, if these orders only last 15 minutes, instead of putting these up here and doing this, like when these guys, this empowered trading people or anybody breaks out these things to figure out, well, what's it going to be? Just make up the order. Make up the order, because now you're going to be trading. Now you're thinking, well, you know, look at it. If I had been willing to risk 100 pips here by putting this really, how many, you can see it right there. Now, if you had sold here, they would have stopped you out. With a 20 pip stop, selling up into that. And the target for that, I guess you got to be paying attention when you drop these, but what if you sold here and you got stopped out? Here's the 20 pip. You didn't get stopped out. So your stop's up there. So if you stack these up, I'm going to risk 20 to make 40. It looks like this up in the top. And you're out of that trade by which seems silly, but you've doubled your money. You sold here and you're out by here. You really just traded this. And you made money because you sold high and you bought back lower. So the width of these orders. Now here, people might be waiting until 4 days for this thing to come down in to this order bank, hit it, come back to here, and they made money. Or people are selling here and they're riding this puppy down. They're like, oh yeah, I'm going to hold. And when they start to hit this stuff, they're like, okay, I'm not going to trade the breakout. I'm going to ride through this breakout, which I think they're going to cave in this whole area. And my orders are sitting at logical levels, pre-placed a week in advance. I don't care. Another issue with trading online like this is that in the olden days, you just look in the newspaper at the end of the day and go, how's my stocks doing? Now you can sit here on a 5-minute chart and say, should I hold for the next 40 seconds? Oh, they just made a new low here. So it looks like this is going to go down. Canadian would go up. So here's the trap trade, and this is the exact thing I was talking about. New Zealand dollar again. Buy limit's here, so what if I place my buy limit there? I'm going to say super tight stops. 1 hour, 8 pips stop. Look how big the stop is, 8 pips. Another thing you realize when you use this, instead of saying how tight a stop you would put on there. So what if I make this risk 3 to make 8? Hopefully I didn't already make one, but so I'm going to risk 3 to make 8. So we'll save it as 3 to make 8 in 1 hour. This is another safe place to start. You're risking 30 cents to make 80 cents. You do that enough times, and it's like they say about the debt. After a while, you're talking real money. So I'm going to make this, I'm going to leave this as an hour. Now I have to adjust this to match the name of it. And this will give you an idea. If you look at the spread when you place this, so when you do drill down to a 5-minute chart, you can say, okay, well, what happens to my order? Here it is. So I got the the 3, 8 here. Risk 3 to make 8 pips, 1 hour. I'm going to put it just beyond the edge. So on this time frame, you can see how if you're going to project a channel, say on this, and use your orders as the as your support and resistance lines. You zoom out to build a steep channel here. Of course, these channels be very steep. So you threw your channel on this, and where you're expecting the market to land on that channel, you would put these scalp orders. And your target for the entering here, your counter trend exit, is going to be the last known low. So if you stream these down your miter box like this, you're like, okay, I can see it coming in here, and that's 5 pips to make 8. You can see the market. So they just are about to fill my buy limits here. So some of these lofty targets people come up with. So right here, different price, 5 pips stop to make 8. Yeah, I can see it bounce to here. That we know that. So if that's going to collapse, this will be the low where everybody that bought is going to have to bail to go the other way. And if you place this above, the nice thing about these single drops, if I want to go long here, all I got to do is place that above, and at this point, instead of buying at the market, you could buy like that. Put your order on the top of this double top right here, and this broker will let me trade inside the spread, I think, so I can drop it right in the middle. And now it's a buy limit. I guess how far is that from the so here the buy stop's going to fill. I'm going to get a bad price, but I'm buying a new low, which should be buy low, sell high, should make money. And this is a 1 hour trade plan, say. These are all 1 hour for scalps here. And here's where you're living inside this channel. If you go to the next, there's the 5 minute. And now maybe you come in with these really greedy orders like, okay, I'm going to risk 18 pips to make. So here's your stop on that. But the stop's got to fit the current drama. If you bought here and you would have actually got in here on this 5 minute chart, if you bought this new low on that spike, and maybe you had this one in. So that's what that looks like to make 8 pips with a 5 pip stop. So we're coming down hard here into these. So no fill in that stop. Amazing. So I'm going to buy on the edge of this channel. I'm going to put all my orders in here without duplicating. So you're risking 30 cents plus the spread. And all these orders, 10 orders, $3 plus the spread, probably $5 risk here if I put 10 of these scalps in for an hour. So if you're going to do your projections of where you think the market's going based on this underline here, connecting all these, you're like, oh, right here, man, this is somebody's target, this is going to be my entry to go reversal, go the other way. I stack here, I'm going to take 8 pips risk here to make 16, and here's a 6 hour order, and maybe tonight they're going to smash this down into Disneyland, so I'm going to put in the 8 hours with a 50 pip stop. All week long I'm going to have an order down here, and you can just trade one currency pair over all these time frames, and just on one broker. So that's the all those 2 scripts that I posted there. You just switch the time frames and switch the risk. And I just suggest that's the way to do it, because you've actually accepted the risk up front by creating the script. So then you're looking for a place to place it on the market. So it's like you built the trade plan. Now you're looking for a place to launch it on the chart that you can put it into the zone there. Instead of drawing these Gartleys and all this nonsense, since we know where tops become bottoms because we see the last bottom. So if you were a scalper and you had a 5 pip stop, isn't it painfully obvious that there is a triple bottom here, and we could revisit this zone? You have a sell limit here and your stop is, say, here, but your stop's there just because you picked that amount of risk up front, and when you drop it on the chart, you'll be like, oh, that's too tight, or Now, when you sell here and your stop is on ask, you can't tell if they stopped you out. You can only tell if they stopped you out on bids when you buy, because your stop, you can see the bid. But here, if your stops are up here and the spread went wide, that means the ask came up here and stopped you out, and you didn't get to ride that down, because the ask is your stop. They're going to stop you out on asking prices, but you don't see plotted here. If you went long, you can see, oh yeah, they stopped me out. Unless you're at FXCM or something. So that's continuing to tank into my order bank. And dollar CAD looks like it could go about 50 pips here. And if that's true, this could probably come down 20 pips. Everybody's going to be buying here. So you could also, as long as you don't duplicate any of these orders, so in the end you should not have any duplication in the entry. You could duplicate the exact same script. Say this is always going to risk 3 to make 8. That's just how I trade. I roll about 1 hour down here. So can this market drop down here in the next hour? You can see what's going on now. Is this where we're going on this puppy in the 5-minute channel? Make sure I got this set to it's not set to 1. I don't know why I put 2 in there. See, this is just sharpened that up. That's closing price. So here I'm going to put my orders right on that top. So I can place it right on where you do your technical analysis. You're putting your order there. These are all scalps. This is the 6 hour to buy this new low right here. So what would it take for the market to get there on this channel? It's going to have to go like this. It's going to have to go like this. It's going to have to walk down. In 6 hours, it's going to fill these orders. Then it's going to come back to wherever. And if you've taken your 8 or 16 pips and left the party, then that's fine. You know, that's the trade. And if you're going to ride out a 100 pip swing on fundamental news, then here's another. I'm going to buy. This lasts for like 2 hours, I think, this order. And this will just be a blanket buy, completely just buy low, sell high, no order placement here. If I could do hand placed orders all week long, it's going to look like, okay, who's not going to buy down here? Look at this, 8 hours. Would you buy down here on these new lows in 8 hours? Oh yeah, I'd buy all the way down to that. I would buy with a 20 pip stop down here next week, new lows, and I would just buy every 100 pips. Of course, this currency is just watching. It doesn't hardly move anymore. So next week, would you place an order down here with a 150 pip stop to buy here? Yeah. What a killer entry. And you could put all your scalps in here right now. You know, that's going to be a big deal. And anything around here. Huh. I just wouldn't be sitting in front of my monitor waiting for that to get filled. And of course, that's where it's going to be the discipline of waiting for your plan to play out, waiting for your trap. So if you're trapping bears, you know, if you're not a sniper, then you lay your traps and you do the trap trade. You play the traps, or you just play support and resistance. But using your orders for analysis instead of the so here's the hope for the bulls, is that we're going to go up, that we broke out, you know, we cleared the zone. And here's another instance where if you copy this line, you're going to see the channel there. So this is your channel. There's your rollover. And it doesn't mean that just because the market rolled over here that you, like, if this was your target, you're out of that trade. It comes back into here, but there was 2 trades off of that, and this was the bigger one. This is a brutal ride, but you got the top bottom on the daily. A lot of sellers at the 100-yard line. So but if you take out all these fancy lines, isn't it really the fact that 100 pip, go up 100, sell every 100. Here, we feeding triple tops dead on close on the daily at the 100, sell at the 100. So if all you did was say, I'm selling at the 100, if it goes down 100 pips, I'll buy it back. That trade plan works. I'll buy at the 100 with a 100 pip stop to make 200. Okay. I'm sure you could have put some, this might be the end of some bet cipher. Who knows, but the sellers came in here and the scalpers made their money there. So it's a real rocky road of there's people making that move and all these little, look at the ATR on this puppy. Psycho ATRs. So you got the 4 hour. Not much to write home about here. So your ATR is small. Maybe your buy stop bot's going to trend trade. He's going to get in here on the 4 hour with the stop here. It's a doji sitting at previous support. And maybe he rides it up into this trap. They pull it back. But I guess if you're trading big enough, some of these baby moves here, just a gold mine. Just a miniature little gold mine. I wish this had a bell go off when these orders fill. I don't know if you can do that. Of course, if you after a while, you don't hear these alarms after a while. Like if you sleep right, you could live near a train tracks and not even hear the train after a while. So they're coming into these buy orders. I don't know if it was stopped out or what. But yeah, it looks like they're going to really go down a few more pips here before the news comes out. So you could touch this channel. So I just keep putting in these orders right on the touch of that channel. Script trading makes it a little bit easier because you can set up the whole week in advance or the next day. Go to sleep and know your risk up front. You don't have to watch all the waiting for your RSI to go to a certain level, and if anybody's done that, I guess it's a feeling of involvement because you're watching it happen and you pull the trigger. But trading at the market's pretty. So here, and look at these wicks, new lows here. Some in. I don't know if these are limits or these are the stops. Look, I got filled on this Singapore trade. I don't even know. Look at this. Don't even trade that normally. Here's New Zealand. Buy limit. H1, that could be, who knows. Try to pick a name here. Keep track of what's going on. So it looks like I'm not making too much money here. My biggest winner is 50 cents. Okay, looks like New Zealand's going to smash. Canadian's going to go up. So now they're going to hammer down into this. I just threw everything in. Here's this demo account. Everything but the kitchen sink. I left that. We're using a latrine, actually. We go old school. So the buy stop bots would be getting filled here on the euro. Looks like we could finally... Huge accumulation on the euro. Just a monster. Look how long we've been trapped in this zone. They had this euro in lockdown. Look at this thing trapped. It's gonna go up. It's gonna sneak away. I don't know if it's gonna go down anymore. It's got a lot of work to do to get to the edge of it's close to the edge of the top here. So big news is coming out here a little bit. So we're going to go into high frequency trading now. Start to drop the 15-minute orders and see if I can't make some money.